Yamunatiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopichanna Ballabha Girivardhare Gopichanna Ballabha Girivardhare Yasudanandana Vrajachanaranjana Yasudanandana Vrajachanaranjana Yamunatiravanachare Yamunatiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Vicharya Sadadada Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Thakur ki jai, Prem Jaga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Varan ki jai. Avandam ki jai, Mathura Dham ki jai, Naritam ki jai, Gangamai ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktanda ki jai, Gaura Pramanandi. All glories to the summer devotees, all glories to the summer devotees, all glories to the summer devotees, all glories to Shesha Gangaranga, all glories to Shakapa. So, we're reading from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, no?
Yes.
I read it from this book. The letters are too small for me. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Which verse was it?
Madhya 22:52.
Rahu Ganaitat.
Yes.
Rahu Ganaitat Tapasana Jati Na Chethyaya Nirvapanat Krihadva Na Chandasa Naiva Jalagni Suryair Vinamahat Pada Rajo Bhishekam Rahu Ganaitat Tapasana Jati Na Chetyaya Nirvapanat Krihadva Na Chandasa Naiva Jalagni Suryair Vinamahat Pada Rajo Bhishekam Suryair Vinamahat Pada Rajo Bhishekam Nahu Ganata Tapasana Jati Na Chetyaya Nirvapanat Krihadva Na Chandasa Naiva Jalagni Suryair Vinamahat Pada Rajo Bhishekam Uganata Na chandasa naiva chalakni suryair vinamahat pararajo vishekam. Ladies. Uganaita tabasana jati Natejaya nirvapanat krihadva Nachandasa naiva jalagni suryair Vinamahat pararajo bhishekam Rahuganaita tabasana jati Achejaya nirvapanat krihadva Nachandasa naiva chalakni suryair Vinamahat pararajo bhishekam Rahugana, O King Rahugana, etat, this, tavasa, by severe austerities and penances, najati, nayati, one does not obtain, na, neither, cha, also, Ijaya, by George's worship, Nirvapanat, by entering the renounced order of life, Krihat, by sacrifices, while living in the home, Va, or Na, Chandasa, nor by scholarly study of the Vedas. Na, nor, eva, certainly, Jala Agni Suryai, by worshipping water, fire, and scorching sunshine. Vina, without, Mahatpada Raja, of the dust of the lotus feet of a Mahatma. Abhishekam, the sprinkling. Translation. O King Rahugana, without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, a Mahajan or Mahatma, one cannot attain devotional service. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities and penances, by gorgeously worshipping the deity, or by strictly following the rules and regulations of the sannyas or grihastha order. Nor is it attained by studying the Vedas, submerging oneself in water, or exposing oneself to fire or scorching sunlight. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse appears in Srimad-Bhagavatam 5.12.12. Yadabharata herein tells King Rahugana how he attained the Paramahansa stage. Maharaj Rahugana, the king of Sindhu Sauvida, had asked Yadabharata how he had obtained the Paramahansa stage. The king had called him to carry his palanquin, but when the king heard from Paramahansa Yadabharata about the supreme philosophy, he expressed surprise and asked Yadabharata how he had attained such great liberation. At that time, Yadabharata informed the king how to become detached from material attraction. So we repeat the verse. Rahuganaita tapasana yati na chechyaya nirvapanat grihadva na chandasa naiva jalagni suryai vinamahat pararajo vishekam. O King Rahugana, without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, a Mahajan or Mahatma, one cannot attain devotional service. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities and penances, by gorgeously worshipping the deity, or by strictly following the rules and regulations of the sannyas or grihastha order. Nor is it attained by studying the Vedas, submerging oneself in water, or exposing oneself to fire or scorching sunlight. So here we hear about Rahuganath, the king Rahuganath. Rahuganath was actually a devotee. But he had some servants. And he actually did not reveal that he was a devotee. Because he was in the position of a king. And he had to comply with all the duties of a king. But then he met Jadabar. He met Jadabar. Jada means dull. And Bharata. Actually he was a king of Rishabdev. And he was one of the 100 sons of Rishabdev. And Rishabdev had instructed his sons. And he selected Jadabar or Bharata Maharaj as the his successor. But at the very early age, like something about 24 years, Bharat already renounced his kingdom. And he went to the forest and practiced severe austerities. That was actually the custom, or the Yuga Dharma at that time. So, and then at one point he was sitting and meditating profoundly. All of a sudden he heard the screaming, the roaring of a lion. And at the same time he saw, what is that, a deer. He saw a she-deer. And she was highly pregnant. And how she became afraid of this lion. And she was running, and she was jumping over. I don't remember all these words in English. Fluss, what is it? Yeah, river. Over river. And while she was jumping over, she lost her child. It fell out. And so Jadabar, he was watching all this. He was not the Jadabar yet. Anyway, so he was watching this scene. And he felt compassion for the little deer. So he went, he picked it up, took it to his ashram. And it says in the 5th canto that when he took care of it, he more and more became absorbed in the little deer. So it became a very emotional relationship. So he became more conscious of the little deer than Paramatma, or whatever deity he was worshipping. And so, at one point, the deer went off. It went off. He didn't see it anymore. And he was full of anxiety. And he went out searching for the deer. And at night, he was still searching for the deer. And he fell from some, what is that? What is that? Yeah, no, he fell. No, he was up high, and he fell down from the cliff, right, from the cliff. He fell from the cliff. And he was, was about to abandon or leave his body. And at that time, all of a sudden, the little deer appeared. So when he left his body, he was thinking of his very dear deer. And because of that, he was born as a deer. But he was very fortunate. He remembered what had happened before in his previous life. So even though situated in the body of a deer, he avoided the association of deer, but he searched for the association of Vaishnavas. So he was very eager to hear from them. He was always close, when they were reciting Shastra. And the sages were very surprised that the deer was so interested in hearing Shastra. And in this way, when time came and he gave up the body, he became Jadabharat. Jadabharat. And from the very beginning of his life, he remembered, always remembered what had happened before. So he kind of stayed away from everything, even though he had a very good father. The father took very nice care of him. And he tried to educate him to become a very nice Brahmin. But Jadabharat was not very interested in this education. And then at one point, his father left. And the other family members, they took care of him. But they were not very respectful with him because they thought he was kind of, how you say it in English, like? Simple. Huh? Simple. Yeah, he was very simple and seemed to be almost crazy because he was so dumb. He didn't react like a normal person. Anyway, so they used them as a Vogelscheuche. What is Vogelscheuche in English?
Scarecrow.
Huh?
Scarecrow.
Yeah, they put him on the field to take care of he took it on the field to scare off animals so they wouldn't eat the product of the field. And so while he was sitting there, he was very happily sitting there because he had no association with any materialistic persons. He was always thinking of Krishna. And Rahuganath was a very, very important king at that time. And Rahuganath was traveling, and he came very close. And he had 4 carriers who were carrying the palanquin. Palanquin? Is that English? No, palanquin. And so one of the slaves, actually says in Bhagavatam there were slaves. One of his slaves escaped. So the king gave them the rest of them the order to find another person apt to do that service, service. So they went out and they found Jadabharat in the field, and they thought, this is exactly what we need, a person like that. So they took him with them and they put him at the service of the king, carrying the palanquin. But Jadabharat was so detached, he didn't keep the Schritt. What is that in English? He couldn't keep the step. Yeah, he couldn't keep the step. And because of that, the king was very molested. He was very disturbed. And he chastised him with words. Better keep yourself up according to what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, I'm the king, and I can chastise you. But Jadabharat didn't take it very serious, and he continued in the same way. So then Rahuganath became very angry. He insulted him. Who think you are? I can kill you at any minute, like that. And even though Jadabharat hadn't spoken for a long time, he all of a sudden started speaking. And he told him, he started saying, look, now you're in the body of a king, and I'm in the body of a servant. Maybe next life, I'm the king and you're my servant. In this way he continued. And Jadabharat and Rahuganath was very surprised to hear this from his servant. And the more he heard from his servant, the more he surrendered to that servant, actually. And it was it's a long, in the fifth canto, the instructions that the king Rahugana has given to Jada Bharat are pretty extensive. Anyway, so this is what is mentioned here. This example is given. I don't remember. Is this the instructions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving to Sanatana or Rupa Goswami? Anybody knows? Huh? Who's instructing? Anyway, any questions regarding this explanation? Yeah?
I had a question.
Yeah? Regarding what you had heard now?
Yeah. So in this story, it's obvious that what we think about in life, in moment of death, what we think in moment of death, we will achieve in next life. This is one of the main points of the story.
Yeah.
And here I have a purport from Srila Prabhupada from the 7th canto, where he says, he speaks also a similar point, and says the constant thought of the Lord makes the devotee eligible to return home back to Godhead. And after giving up his body, a devotee does not again receive a material body, but goes back to Godhead and receives a spiritual body, resembling those of the Lord's eternal associates whose activities he followed. However the devotee likes to serve the Lord, he may constantly think of the Lord's associates, the cowherd boys, the gopis, the Lord's father and mother, his servants and trees, land, animals, plants, and water in the Lord's abode. Because of constantly thinking of these features, one acquires a transcendental position. And Prabhupada started when he says, however, the devotee likes to serve the Lord. So how do we know what we like, or how do we like, or how do we follow this principle? Because we want to serve Krishna in the spiritual world, and Prabhupada gives here quite detailed point how to do that. But this point on how a devotee likes to learn, so how does this work?
Because there's different relationship with Krishna. No? The neutral relation, service, servant, and then the parental, then the conjugal relationship. I just heard a class where Paul was saying that, in the spiritual world, there are so many also plants and birds and so many animal forms also, and they have selected this position because this is the way how they want to relate with Krishna. That means, actually we all have a relationship with Krishna. Well, we have forgotten this relationship with Krishna. And now we are very fortunate. We have been introduced to the Madhurya Rasa by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the highest platform, the highest relationship, the most confidential relationship with Krishna. So somehow, we have been introduced to this. Normally, this is something that, it says in Bhagavad Gita, after many, many births, if one actually has perfect knowledge, one surrenders to me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. And such a great soul is very, very rare. So it's not something that we just make up, or invent or something like that. But actually something that is revealed to us in due course of time. I don't know if I answer your question. Huh?
Yeah. So yes, there's a very.
You want to know what your relationship is with Krishna?
No, yeah, because as you said, we remember, and there's some certain natural attraction towards Krishna and his devotees, especially his devotees. Mm-hmm. So, and when you speak about Madhurya Rasa, and for us it's obvious that we worship Radha Krishna, we chant Hare Krishna, and Prabhupada introduced us to the worship of Radha Krishna. So it means if we get appreciation for the service attitude of Srimati Radharani, and then naturally we fall then in this category.
Sorry?
Then naturally we fall in this category. it's more or less very simple, that because Radharani is worshipping Krishna the best and she has the most love for him and service attitude, and when we develop appreciation for that and see how is such purity and such dedication, then naturally we follow already this principle to appreciate this service attitude, and to desire that also, and naturally we develop the same mood.
Yeah.
So it's
like Bhagavad says here, and I know before, actually the summarization of the chapter, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this is something that develops naturally. It's not something that is imposed or artificially done or like that. It's something that the more we advance in Krishna consciousness, the more we become purified. All these things become revealed to us. And Srila Prabhupada also saying here, was it? In the purport here? Speaking about the spiritual master? I don't remember now. That one actually has no access to all this without being accepted by a spiritual master. Initiation is actually what connects us. First to the disciplic succession, and then we become more and more blessed if we surrender. Actually, initiation means that one accepts to surrender. How you say? No? Yeah, the process of surrender. Yeah. And the more we surrender, the more we follow the instruction of the spiritual master and the diksha, shiksha gurus like that. The more we become awakened. How to say? Awakened from the slumber of material dream, from the slumber of material existence. And all these things become revealed in due course of time.
And this
Maybe somebody else wants to comment
just a
on
small
that?
question. This revelation is then working out as an attraction, right? It's a natural attraction towards Krishna then. So it's not anymore this revelation.
Just like in Krishna, when we become devotees, we become more and more attracted. Yeah. In the beginning, like it says, Ado Shraddha. The first principle devotional service is Ado Shraddha, that we become attracted. We develop some faith. Maybe we see a devotee, or we get a book, and we become attracted. Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, association with we have the association of the devotees. Bhajana Kriya, we receive from the spiritual master. We're supposed to get the seed of devotional service. Anartha Niviti, we become detached, more and more detached from everything that is not related to devotional service. Nishta, we become steady. We maintain ourselves steady in devotional service. Steady means that we are spontaneously getting up in the morning for Mangalarti. Not something that we have to force ourselves. Actually, this attraction is strong. Yeah. We become more and more attracted to the chanting of the holy name. The holy name is not just a mantra like that, superficial, but it actually becomes full of attraction. We attract. We want to chant. That's like when we finish our 16 rounds, we think, why only 16? Why not more? That's why actually Prabhupada, when Prabhupada initiated devotees, he often said, minimum, minimum, what is that then? 16 Runden. Minimum 16 Runden. Nicht Maximum 16 Runden. Yeah. And not just hear the Bhagavatam for a limited time during the day, but become anxious to read more of Bhagavatam, to go more deep into the Bhagavatam. Like you're doing your course of Bhakti Vaibhava here now. This is very, very nice, very good. Should all participate. So this attraction for Krishna is our natural, pure aspiration. How is it in English? No? Yeah. Natural tendency. But it has to be awakened, no, by the process of devotional service. That's why Bhagavad gave the Nectar of Devotion this title, The Science of Devotional Service. The Science. Ist in Deutsch auch? In German also?
Umfassende Wissenschaft.
Ja, die umfassende Wissenschaft des hingebungsvollen Dienstes. Yeah. All these things are full of meaning, like the 64 principles of devotional service. Every principle has a meaning, helps us to progress in Krishna consciousness. There's so many principles. I started mentioning the 5 more important principles amongst the 64. No? But I didn't. I just mentioned sadhu sangha, the first principle. It's very powerful. Have association with devotees. No? And it actually says these 5 principles are very amongst the 64 the most important. And they have the potency. How is it? The potency, to reawaken our love for Krishna within the heart. Sadhu sangha, the nama kirtana, the chanting of the holy names. Actually, we're very fortunate that we have been introduced directly to this principle, taken shelter in the holy name. Then Bhagavata Shravana, escuchar this is Spanish again. Hear the Srimad-Bhagavatam regularly. Bhagavata Shravana. And Mathura Vasa, to reside in a holy place, like you residing here in a holy place. This is actually a holy place. Yes. Like Prabhupada used to say, it's an oasis, how do you say? Oasis? In the desert of the material world. Yeah. So this is what Prabhupada created all over the world. He created holy places in the form of our ashrams, our temples, anyway. So, and when you're here and you are occupied in devotional service, actually you transcend the modes of nature. That's why often when people come for the first time, we had a reporter in Köln once, and he stayed overnight also with the devotees. And then when he wrote the article, he mentioned that these devotees have a lack of self-esteem. What is that? Because they're so humble and surrendered, and But he liked the atmosphere. It was very peaceful. In the past, we have experienced that often there comes a reporter, and but sometimes it seems that the article's already done before they came even. So they just give them the photos and some details like that. And then we were very surprised to read this article, because it's not exactly what even the reporter didn't seem to have that opinion or that, how you say, that mood, like that. Anyway, so the holy place. But we should also visit the sacred places in India. Srila Prabhupada gave us Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram temple. He gave us Mayapur. And he actually Prabhupada also wanted to have a bigger project in Jagannath Puri. Nowadays there's so many places all over India. And it's surprising how ISKCON India has become actually so big, so extensive, so incredible, so successful. Yeah. But it all started with Srila Prabhupada bringing Western disciples to India. Just like I mentioned the other day, there's a saying, nobody's prophet in his own country. So in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada didn't have so much success. But then when he went to the West and he inspired some young people in America, And they heard, in India about this success. They were surprised. More when he came back to India. And the first trip he made to India was with Caitanya Maharaj. And he gave him sannyas in Vrindavan, and people were very surprised. Yeah. Anyway, so Prabhupada gave us Vrindavan. And when he started Mayapur, Prabhupada was also considering the conditions there for the Western disciples. I remember when we went the first time to Mayapur, we didn't have any bathrooms. They had excavated some holes out there on the fields. And we would go and take our showers there. We had to get the water first. The first thing we had to get in Mayapur was a bucket and a lota to bathe. Yeah, but in due course, Srila Prabhupada gave his disciples more facilities, especially by creating the long building. Anyway, so Prabhupada wanted his disciples to go to Vrindavan and Mayapur. In the beginning, they were all Western devotees. They were running the temples, Vrindavan, Mayapur, like that. But then more and more Indian devotees came. And the first Indian devotees Prabhupada had came from Canada and from America, like that. Like Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He was actually living in Canada. And he became attracted to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada started preaching to him like that. And Prabhupada also had to speak with his father, because he had sent him to America or to Canada to study and do something with his studies afterwards. But then he became a devotee. So his father was very disturbed, so Prabhupada had to talk to him like that. Anyway, so these places are very important for our development in Krishna consciousness. And then also Sri Mutira Shadaya Sevana. This is the fifth principle. Sri Mutira Shadaya Sevana means to worship the deity with Shraddha, with the conviction within the heart that these were not just dolls but actually Krishna. Anyway, so, and seva. Occupy yourselves. Use your time in the service of Krishna. And as we mentioned, as we've seen now also in the West, in India normally when people go to the temple, they always bring some offering, some flowers or some garland or some donation. I remember when we started going to India, on the side of the entrance in the big temples normally, they were selling garlands and a lot of paisa. People would buy paisa, change their rupees into paisa. And then they come in and throw all the paisa, like aluminium coins. And normally the pujaris would come with a broom, and get all these paisas together, like these donations like that. Anyway, so we have to take advantage of all these things and make further progress. We shouldn't be satisfied with whatever we have achieved. Actually, the symptom of advancement in Krishna consciousness, the devotee becomes more and more humble, feels more and more insignificant. This is part of the purification. Trinada api sunichina taruiva sahishruna manina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Anyway, I went off a little bit here. Should I go on reading? I'm used to read Caitanya-caritāmṛta continuing. Do you do this here also? Huh?
We read here every Saturday.
Huh?
We read here every Saturday.
Oh, okay. No, but I mean, you continue reading, right?
Usually a lecture. Yeah, depends.
In other places I'm used to continue reading. Let's continue. Naisham matistavarukramaṅ krim sveshati anartha pagamo yad artaha mahiya sampara rajobhishekam nishkinchananam vrinitayavat. Unless human society accepts the dust of the lotus feet of the great Mahatmas, devotees who have nothing to do with the material possessions, mankind cannot turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted, miserable conditions of material life. Purport. This verse appears in the Srimad-Bhagavatam 7.5.32. When the great sage Narada was given instructions to Maharaj Yudhishthira, he narrated the activities of Prahlad Maharaj. This verse was spoken by Prahlad Maharaj to his father, Hiranyakashipu, the king of demons. Prahlad Maharaj had informed his father of the 9 basic processes of Bhakti Yoga, explaining that whoever takes to these processes is to be considered a highly learned scholar. Hiranyakashipu, however, did not like his son to talk about devotional service. Therefore, he immediately called Prahlad's teacher, Sanda. The teacher explained that he had not taught devotional service to Prahlad, but that the boy was naturally inclined that way. At that time, Hiranyakashipu became very angry and asked Prahlad why he had become a Vaishnava. In answer to this question, Prahlad Maharaj recited this verse to the effect that one cannot become the Lord's devotee without receiving the mercy and blessings of another devotee. So, I guess you all know very nicely the story of Prahlad Maharaj here. This is Simhachalam. Actually, these names come from India. There's another, in India there's also a place of worship on Nrsimha called Simhachalam. Anyway, so here we hear a verse from Prahlad Maharaj, explaining that there's no possibility of actually advancing in Krishna consciousness unless one has received the blessings of pure devotees. Tat viganatam sagurum iva vigachet samipani shrotiyam brahmanishtam. I think I mentioned this verse before. Anyway, this is a verse mentioned the qualifications of a spiritual master. And it says that such guru has to have realized the profound meaning of the Shastra. And the next qualification, the symptom is that he is living it. Completely absorbed in what he is teaching. Himself giving an example, being acharya. Acharya. Yeah, somebody who teaches by his own example. Anyway, so then the verse says that unless one is blessed or accepted by pure devotee, there's no question of advancing in Krishna consciousness. Of course, the spiritual master of Prahlad Maharaj was not so obvious. Because actually he'd been instructed by a spiritual master within the womb. We never heard anything about initiation of Prahlad Maharaj or anything like that. He had already been instructed within the womb. So when he came out, he was already a liberated soul. He is also mentioned amongst the 12 Mahajans. It says the 12 Mahajans are the maximum, authorities in devotional service. Just like when the Yamadutas met the Vishnudutas, and they were actually, the Yamadutas tried to take away, what was the name of the devotee? Ajamil. But Ajamil, at the point of seeing the Yamadutas, he had called Narayan. He had given his son the name Narayan. And Prabhupada mentioned once that this was actually because he had been pious in the beginning of his life. So somehow Krishna inspired him to give his name, his son, the name Narayan. And it says that he only called Narayan once, not Narayan, 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 but rather Narayan, taking full shelter in the holy name and chanting the holy name purely, without any motive. Even though it was calling his son, immediately the Vishnu Dutas appeared. And they protected him. They protected him. And so the Vishnu Dutas had never experienced it before. They never experienced it before. That a sinner, all of a sudden was protected by the Vishnu Dutas, hindering their service to bring sinful people before Yamaraj. So then, because they were defeated, so they went back to the Lord of Death. Lord of Death. It says that all these sinful persons are carried before Yamaraj. And Yamaraj knows everything they had done before. And he doesn't have a book there with notes, and he knows. By the mercy of Krishna, he can immediately tell what is the history of that person. Anyway, so when the Yamadutas came and they complained, they said, we thought you are the supreme controller, that you determine what all these sinful people deserve, and you make sure that they get prepared for their sinful future, for their how to suffer in the future. And then he said, actually, no, you met the Vishnu Dutas because you had no right to touch Ajamil, because he had already been completely freed, completely liberated from all the accumulated sinful reactions within his heart. All the seed. Anyway, so, and then he gave the names. He said, actually the Mahajans, is that, I remember the name of Brahma. Brahma has a special name in that word. Huh? Yeah, Swayambhu. Swayambhu Janaka Vishnu, Kumara Kapinamanu, Narada, Janaka Vishnu, yeah. And then Vayasaki Vayam. Balir Vayasaki Vayam. And Vayam actually means us. No? He doesn't mention his own name, but he includes himself in this. The names he mentioned, the personalities he mentioned. Yeah. Anyway, so this is an example given, emphasizing the potency of the holy name. Why is his holy name so potent? Because it is not different from Krishna. Krishna is actually present. Prabhupada explained that this is actually the incarnation, vibration. Vibration incarnation. What is that in English? How do you say that? Yeah. Anyway. So we have been presented all these incredible things. The holy name, the association with devotees. We have been given the opportunity to take darshan of deities or serve the deities. We have been given the opportunity to associate with devotees, which is actually also something that's very difficult to achieve. very difficult normally, but due to the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives, we have been given this chance, this incredible chance. Any questions? Ja. Hast du wieder was gefunden?
When you spoke about Srila Prabhupada, and we hear often
Huh?
we hear often about Srila Prabhupada's pastimes and his glories and all that, but sometimes there are some pastimes which seem to be a bit unbelievable, and I want to know what you think about that when we read or hear in the memories when devotees speak about that. Like there's one pastime that they saw Prabhupada floating on sun rays, or that when he came up the stairways in the airport he kept on flying. So what do you think about these pastimes? Because sometimes I think maybe these beginning devotees, they might, exaggerate, or we're still on their...
Actually, yes, when you saw Prabhupada walking, like that, it was not ordinary. It was not ordinary. And he also had some effulgence. Yeah.
But it said he was flying on sun rays. That one devotee was once looking through the keyhole of the door to see what Prabhupada is doing, and Prabhupada was floating on sun rays.
I never saw that.
But how should we think about that?
Yeah. Ask other devotees who have more realization, had more association with Srila Prabhupada.
You had association with Prabhupada.
I didn't have much association with Srila Prabhupada. Huh?
But you had more than we, so when we hear the story you think, maybe, or I don't know, or...
Well, depends on who tells you this.
It wasn't the memories, this video.
Yeah, still, depends on who tells you this, or who gave it. We had, according to the different, we didn't believe everybody, but anyway, there was also a devotee after Prabhupada disappeared. He told us that Prabhupada was always appearing in his dreams, all the time, instructing him. But somehow or other, these instructions became more and more weird. And that's why Prabhupada actually introduced the ISKCON watchdogs, the GBCs. Yeah. They were supposed to, keep an eye on all these things. Yeah. Yeah, bitte. Aber?
Hare Krishna.
No.
I have a political question.
Oh, related to what you heard here?
No.
Better keep that for the end. Yeah?
But Akila Prabhu can ask.
What? Oh, Akila.
It is said that a pure devotee has all the 8 yogic cities. So it's easy for Srila Prabhupada to float or to do anything, isn't it?
Yeah, but still, our faith is not that. We have to confirm things, and Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. This is a check and balance system that Prabhupada gave us. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra.
This story that Prabhupada floating when he came up the stairs, that was told by this devotee who was in charge of the Arabian books in the BBT.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember the name. I wrote it down. I copied that.
Yeah, I know him, but I don't remember his name either.
I met him in Mayapur. We were sitting next to each other and we were talking about this. And yes, he is reliable.
Yeah, he's a nice devotee, and he has big responsibilities. He produces all these Arabian books, And he's very pleased when he hears that in the West also. I have it is Lilamita. Anyway, I don't know if there's Sankirtan devotees here also distributing Arab books. Yeah, many? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she met him once, I don't know where. And he was very, very pleased with her that she was actually distributing so many Arab books. Yeah. But I can't say anything more about the question of my disciple. Any more questions?
This is related.
They read it. Okay,
Related.
then. Yeah, that's okay.
Just related. It's nice that sometimes devotees are kind of seeking only for how you say for some very mystical experiences in their spiritual life, rather than being inspired deeply by devotion and surrender to Krishna. And thus, if they find such inspiration somewhere else, some magical thing or some mysterious thing, then they're attracted suddenly to other different paths. So it's important, I think, that it's not because Prabhupada is floating on sunrays that we become devotees, but it's because he's such a surrendered.
No, Prabhupada expressed once, I think I spoke about this the other day, that his mystic power, was not all these walking on the water and all that stuff, but actually Prabhupada was actually transformed Kali Yugeros, inhabitants of Kali Yuga, to devotees. This was actually the real, how you say, wirkliche Wunder. What is that? The real miracle. Yeah. Just like I mentioned the other day, Prabhupada was about to travel and train, and the devotees had gotten him a very special apartment, so not so many people would see him or disturb his journey like that. And so when they were about to close the door of that apartment, and there were two gentlemen standing outside, trying to make eye contact with Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada saw them and he called them in. And they came in. And then Prabhupada asked them, so what is it what do you want? And they both expressed their desire to get blessed for something mundane, something, I think a business or something like that. And then Prabhupada pointed his disciple and said, this is my miracle. This is my blessing. And the devotees were sitting there. Yeah. Of course, Krishna has used Srila Prabhupada for a mission. And this mission was only possible with the extraordinary blessings of his own spiritual master, like we heard here. Yeah. Anyway, like Akila mentioned, Prabhupada was actually capable of doing so many things. But his mystical, I say, Wunder, what is it, Wunder? Huh? Yeah, miracle. His miracle was that he brought this movement to the West. And he created so many devotees, so many temples. These were the miracles of Srila Prabhupada. And his books. We were just hearing about, speaking about that when we came with Akila. That I found a quote just a couple of weeks ago. And somebody was relating how his experience with Srila Prabhupada. And Mahabhagavat, Prabhupada's disciples. And he said once he was with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada told him, you have to read these books. More, you have to read more these books. And then Prabhupada said, no, I also read these books. And I also know why I read the book, because I also learn so much from these books. In other words, from his own purpose. No? Yeah. And then he said, you know, when I sit down in the morning to write the purpose, no, the Srimad-Bhagavatam, no, I feel Krishna's presence, how Krishna is inspiring me what to say, what to write. So these books are not ordinary. Yeah.
So the statement and return to the other sensational things he did, that Krishna dictates directly to Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Because Prabhupada says himself, we can take it as it is. So Krishna dictated personally to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't remember, I think I talked about this before. When Prabhupada came to Germany in 74, to Schloss Rettershof, no? Hans Duda, he was our leader at that time, he wanted to make recordings, Srila Prabhupada singing bhajans. No? So we created a whole tone studio. What is that? No? Tone studio. Yeah, yeah. With mit den Eierpaketen, wie sagt man, no? And so Prabhupada went in. Hans Rudra was always playing Madanga. Prabhupada was playing harmonium. And I think it was Chakravarti who was playing the kartals like that. And whenever Prabhupada had a little songbook, very tiny little songbook, he sang from. And then whenever he finished something, he came out. He wanted to hear it. And I remember, I was there also. I saw how Prabhupada came out. You know, he sat there, and with great concentration, Prabhupada would hear what he sang. You know, like that. Yeah. There's a somebody just a couple of weeks ago. I was in Abenteuer, in Abenteuer, and a devotee gave me a record of Srila Prabhupada. Actually, we made records of the bhajans at that time. Long play record, big ones. No, there's a double record, long play. No? Krishna meditation, yeah. And we could fold it like that, open like this. Yeah? And then also we published only half, that's one disc. No? And this disc, this devotee gave me. No, but nowadays I have problems of hearing it because nobody has these machines anymore. The players, how you say? No, the players anymore. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, record players like that. Anyway, I saw how Prabhupada was actually surprised of how he had sung. Yeah. Sometimes when Prabhupada, when they recorded Prabhupada singing bhajans, often Prabhupada also played harmonium, and then later he added his own mridanga to the recording like that. Yeah. Nowadays, devotees don't sing so many bhajans anymore, isn't it? You sing bhajans here? Huh?
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much. I remember when I became a devotee, first, the first thing, we didn't have a program organized like we have nowadays. Anyway, so I remember our Hans Duda used to chant a lot of bhajans, and we learned these bhajans from him. Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna. It's 9 o'clock, is it? Now you can ask your question. Huh?
The question is regarding this new ISKCON India resolution with the Ritviks, that officially now the Ritviks, what is his name? Madhu Pandit is officially allowed to use name ISKCON for ISKCON Bangalore. Official, not only ISKCON Bangalore, but just ISKCON can use. And then he made the offer to ISKCON, to the GBC, to give all property, all Ritvik property to ISKCON, to the GBC, but they must accept the as an
Ritvik
option,
philosophy? Philosophy.
The Ritvik initiation system, yeah.
Oh.
So what do you say to this?
I can't say anything because I wasn't there when this decision was taken on the GBC. Last year I resigned from the GBC.
Oh.
So there's things that I don't know anymore.
There was only an offer from the Ritviks, Madhu Pandit, towards ISKCON. ISKCON GBC didn't make any decision as far as I know, but I just wanted to know what you think.
I don't know. Actually, it's off, no? Ritvik philosophy is not what Prabhupada taught us. Prabhupada insisted that we have to have a living guru, a living person who initiates us. Yeah. That's all I can say in regards to this. Yeah, so, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I'm leaving in a couple of hours, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to participate more here. But I'm about to go back to the places where I normally do my service, and I can't how you say, risk to become infected by this what is that? Measles. Yeah. I have to be healthy, otherwise I will not be able to do my service. Yeah, so thank you very much, and I promise you, ta-da! I promise that next time I come here, I will stay longer. I already had a conversation with Akila about this, because since a long time I wanted to spend more time here, come here and spend more time, because I also want to learn, from the Didi department like that also. Yeah. But now again I'm pressed by time, I cannot stay longer. Yeah. Okay, let's see how Krishna sees it, and he gives me the chance. But I very much like to do that. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Ich darf heute nach Passau fahren. Ah ja? Mhm. Und ich habe dein Zug geht um 13:30 Uhr. Man möchte